At age 75, Agnetha Fältskog leans back in her chair and looks beautiful. Behind that golden hair was a face that broke a lot of hearts and sold a lot of records. I'm not shy or smiling like a fool tonight, though. She feels like telling the whole truth right now. The reporter asks the question that has been hanging in the air for decades, with a half-smile, half-red face. Oh, Agnetha, you were one of the most sought-after women in the world when ABBA was at the top of his fame. What about you? Which guys made you feel the most tempted? She smiles meanly and her eyes sparkle like she's been waiting years to answer. Oh, sweetheart, do you want the list? Why lie when I'm this old? I've sung about love, dance, and broken hearts. There were times, though, when I was thinking about something much worse. There were 7 men singers whose sounds made me want more than just a duet. She leans in close and drops her voice to a husky purr. Hey, sweetheart, these weren't loves. These were just dreams. Hot, sweaty, and sexy dreams. Men who made me not want to do the dance. No matter what, take off the sequins and stay in the changing room. Most of the time I was good. But if I let go, you'd still be writing about all the crimes. She turns her head back and laughs in a crazy, throaty way. Behind closed doors, I thought things that would have made the press go crazy. On stage, I was the blonde angel of ABBA. Also, why not be honest tonight? There were 7 guys in leather who made me want to sin. They were singers, icons, and devils. I don't care who knows it at 75. Before we go through the list, please like the movie and subscribe to get more great news about old Hollywood. There are 2 things on Agnetha's list that will really surprise you. They are number 5 and number 7. She tells them some juicy things about how she feels about him. Very bad manners. Let's get started right away. 1. Big Benny Andersson. Agnetha laughs so hard it's almost wicked, and her eyes light up with the thrill of saying what no one else will. Donkey. Oh yes, Benny. He was always seen as the musical genius behind ABBA, the guy behind the piano. But allow me to reveal a truth. People never really saw how scary Benny was. He looked like a boy, with that sly grin and those fingers. Oh my God, those hands. He played for hours, and you'd think his hands could do something else. Her voice gets softer as she bites her lip. Benny and I were never together. It's not official. Still, that didn't mean there weren't times. There were nights when it was hard to tell the difference between music and other things as they played for hours on end. He would sometimes be playing the piano and look right at me. I'm sure he wasn't just running through notes. He was joking with me. It felt like every chord and tune was a trick. It made my heart race to think about what would happen if I let him keep going. Now she was speaking in a brazen, almost seductive way. We'd all have a drink after shows some nights, and Benny would lean in close. He smelled like sweat and cologne, and the lights would make his hair crazy. He would make me laugh with a joke, and then hold my pause for too long. If I didn't move right away, I thought we wouldn't make it back to our hotel rooms. His hand would rest on my arm or knee. Agnetha smiles and shakes her head as if she were admitting a mistake. Even though Benny was older, you could tell he was still strong and hungry if you tried hard enough. I'll say it. I often imagined that the piano lid was closed and there was no one else in the room. He took his hands off the keys and looked for me instead. What a difference the noise from that room would have made to the music we made if we had ever gone there. He leans back and sighs, as if she had just told him the dirtiest secret ever. Benny was an easy way to give in to temptation. The worst part was that he knew it. I think neither of us would have been okay if I had ever let myself fall, even just once. 2. Andy Gibb. Agnetha laughs loudly and shakes her head as if she were about to admit guilt. Andy Gibb. Oh, what a handsome boy. The Bee Gees' little brother has an angelic face and a voice like silk. That's not all he was. He was too good-looking to handle. He had wild, young eyes that could melt your heart before he even sang. She takes a moment, and her smile turns mean. Andy liked me now. It was not a secret. He pretty much wore it on his sleeve. I'll own up to it. When we were close, I noticed that he looked at me like I was the only woman in the room. It made me feel cold. He loved her like a puppy dog, but he also had a tough side, like he wanted to show that he wasn't just a boy chasing his dreams. He was eager to be the man I could trust. Her voice drops, making it sultry and shocking. I should have known better because I was older and smarter. But every time he leaned in and spoke in that soft voice and smile, I thought, my God, if I let go, this boy would ruin me and I'd love every minute of it. I I used to wonder what it would be like if he sang me a love song in bed. To him, they were like secret confessions. With her eyes half closed, Agnia leans back as if she were remembering something. One night, after a show, we ended up at the same hotel bar. He was sitting next to me, way too close, and telling me nice things in a way that almost made me blush. He smelled like cologne and youth. He looked at you as if he had already taken off all of your clothes a dozen times in his mind. Yeah, I let him look. I might have even leaned in a little to make him think it wasn't impossible. She bites her lip, and her voice gets hoarse. Andy was a man of temptation wrapped up in his youth and music. It would have been terrible if I ever let him cross that line. The Sheets and I would not have stood a chance. Rod Stewart is the third. Agnia smirks, and there's a hint of mischief in her eyes. Wes Rod Stewart. That man did more than just flirt. The way he lived was flirting. Lust was like pants for him. He wore them all the time, very close, very loud, and hard to ignore. The way he walked across the room, with his wild hair and gravel-filled voice, made it look like he could already picture you wrapped up in his sheets. Rod never sang in front of a lot of people. He used them to hunt. When his eyes fell on you, you were lucky that he wasn't asking. He was brave. She humps her voice and leans forward as if she's going to tell a dirty secret. Lord, I wasn't safe either. I saw him at many late-night events, parties, and award shows. He always had that cocky grin on his face that said, "You know, I'd wreck you and you'd thank me for it." He might not have been wrong after all. Her laugh is now throaty and has a hint of nostalgia in it. I will never forget that one night. After a show, he sat me down with a glass of champagne in his hand and whispered something dirty in my ear. It made me blush like a schoolgirl. When I was with ABBA, I sang in front of tens of thousands of people. And there I was, biting my lip and hoping no one saw how I looked. She thinks about the words for a moment and then shrugs with a mean smile. Rod looked terrible in his underwear. I don't think either of us would have slept until morning if I had let him drag me off the dance floor and into the dark. The noise might have even damaged the walls. 4. Ellen Fredlingad. She has a wicked smile on her face, like she knows she's about to cause trouble. Frida. Yes, that Frida. She was my partner in crime on stage, the other half of our harmony, and the woman I sometimes worried could break me just by being close. Her voice gets thick and drops. The lights would be on high and the music would be pounding, and she'd lean into me for one of those melodies. The way her perfume smelled, how hot she was, and how her hair brushed against mine. Oh my God, that was enough to make me forget my cue. When she looked at me that way, there were times I thought I wouldn't sing that night. I'm going to admit. She slowly laughs and shakes her head. When people saw the spark between us, they thought it was just magic on stage. But I'll tell you what, sometimes it wasn't acting. Not even close. I felt like Frida was daring me to cross a line I knew I shouldn't. She had this fire and energy about her. It made me want to every time we looked at each other. It was embarrassing for her to smile. Who knows if we were ever left alone for long enough after a show? The satin outfits might not have made it through the night. 5. Tom Jones. Agnetha leans back, and her eyes sparkle as if she just remembered something she shouldn't have. Tom Jones. No way that man could sing you out of your clothes before you knew what was going on. That voice wasn't just sound. It was an order. It's rough, smooth, and wicked all at the same time. He sang, "It's not unusual." That was not what he meant by dancing. It was something else he was talking about, and you wanted it to be very, very normal. A low, dirty sound comes from her laugh. Tom had that heat thing. He would walk into a room and women would melt into puddles at his feet. I wasn't made of stone either. He brushed past me at a party one time, leaned in close, and said something. He touched my neck with his breath and his hand stayed on the small of my back. I couldn't even tell you what it was. Oh my God, I almost dropped my champagne. Her smile gets scary. Tom had the energy of an animal, and he knew how to use it. He could have put me in a corner and hummed one of those songs in my ear. I wouldn't have been able to fight back. He sang about more than just love and lust. He was both love and lust. You know what? If Tom Jones had ever chosen to have me as his only audience member, the night would have finished in sin instead of song. There was Elvis Presley. Agnetha breathes out as if just saying his name has weight to it. Elvis was the king. He was more than just a singer. He felt tempted when he walked around in leather and diamonds. I never got to sing with him, but I dreamed about it a lot more times than I can count. He had that air about him. Every other man left the room when Elvis walked in. He looked around. He did more than just move. And those eyes could make you naked, even if he didn't touch you. She laughed softly and inappropriately. It was something I used to dream about. Behind the scenes, just the two of us, with the crowd still screaming outside. He was leaning in close with that low draw. No matter how many people were around, Elvis could make a woman feel like she was the only one living. And if he had ever turned his finger at me, I would have stomped all over Graceland. I wouldn't have cared who saw her tone get sultry, almost like she was confessing. And those hips, don't even talk about them. It was like seeing sin happen when I watched him on stage. I used to think about what it would be like to be stuck under them instead of watching them. She laughs and shakes her head. Elvis wasn't just a crush. He lived in a dangerous dream. And if I had spent one night by myself with him, I wouldn't have been able to walk straight the next day. 7. David Bowie. For a moment, Agnetha's eyes look far away, as if she is picturing something she shouldn't be. David Bowie. That man didn't just walk into a room. He flowed into it as if he were from a different world. He might have done that. The voice was low, hypnotic, and scary, and the eyes and cheekbones were very sharp. I couldn't stay away from him because he was strange and beautiful at the same time. She smiled in a sneaky way. When I met him at an event, I felt like I was under a spell. The way he looked at you made you feel like he knew everything you were hidden and loved you more because of it. This man could get me to do anything, and I'd thank him afterward, I thought at the time. She leans in, and her voice drops in shame. And Bowie had that kind of name. There were wild nights, pretty women and men, and too much of everything. It was so easy for him to carry, though, like it was second nature to him. Maybe a minute. If he had leaned in close and whispered one of those lines in my ear, I wouldn't have been able to hold out much longer. The man looked good in satin and glitter. She laughs and shakes her head. You dream about some singers because they're safe. Bowie was a dream because he was scary. I will admit that I wanted to know how dangerous it really was.